It is the 17th of November, 1922. Before sunrise, a man wraps himself in a dark cloak and slips out of a side door of the Dolmabahce Palace in Constantinople. He does not say goodbye. He does not make a speech. He boards a British warship waiting in the Bosphorus Strait, and he sails away into the darkness. His name is Mehmed VI. He is the 36th Sultan of the Ottoman dynasty, and he is the last. Behind him, he leaves a palace, a throne, and 600 years of history. The Ottoman Empire, once the most powerful state on earth, dies that morning without a single shot fired. No battle, no siege, no dramatic last stand, just a man in a cloak walking away before anyone wakes up. But the empire did not fall that morning. It had been falling for a very long time. This is the story of how it happened. To understand what was lost, you first have to understand what the Ottoman Empire actually was. At its absolute peak in the 16th century, the Ottoman Empire stretched from the gates of Vienna in the west to the Persian Gulf in the east, from Crimea in the north to the coast of North Africa in the south. It controlled the Mediterranean sea lanes. It held the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. Its capital, Constantinople, was the largest city in Europe. Its army, the Janissaries, was the most disciplined fighting force in the world. The Sultan was not just a king. He was the Caliph, the leader of the entire Sunni Muslim world. For 3 continents, the Ottoman Empire was not a distant power. It was the center of the world, and it lasted for 600 years, through the Black Death, through the Mongol invasions, through the Renaissance, the Reformation, the Scientific Revolution. While European kingdoms rose and collapsed around it, the Ottoman Empire endured. So what finally broke it? The answer starts not with an enemy at the gates. It starts with a phrase. 3 words that changed how the world saw the empire forever. In 1853, Tsar Nicholas I of Russia said something that traveled across every royal court in Europe. He called the Ottoman Empire the sick man of Europe. It was a diagnosis, not an insult, and it was accurate. By the mid-19th century, the empire was hemorrhaging territory. Greece had broken away in 1821. Serbia, Romania, Bulgaria, all pulling toward independence. The Balkans, which had been Ottoman for 4 centuries, were fracturing. Every decade brought a new humiliation, and underneath the territorial losses was a deeper structural problem. The empire's economy had not modernized. European industrial powers were pulling ahead at a speed the Ottomans could not match. By 1881, the empire was so deeply in debt to European banks that it had to hand over control of its own finances to foreign creditors. The empire that had once extracted tribute from Europe was now paying tribute back to it. A generation of Ottoman intellectuals saw all of this clearly. They were called the Young Ottomans first, then a later movement called the Young Turks. They believed the empire could be saved, but only through radical reform, a constitution, a parliament, a modern state. What they did not agree on was whether reform meant saving the empire or replacing it with something entirely new. The Young Turks forced their way to power in 1908. They made the aging Sultan Abdülhamid II accept a constitution at gunpoint. For a moment, it felt like the empire might actually transform itself. It did not. The reforms came too slowly and too unevenly. Corruption ran too deep. The military was divided, and the empire's neighbors were circling. In 1912 and 1913, the Balkan Wars stripped the Ottomans of nearly all their remaining European territory in under 2 years. Land they had held since the 14th century was gone in 18 months. Sofia, Skopje, Thessaloniki, cities that had been Ottoman for centuries, fell one after another. The empire retreated to a thin strip around Constantinople. The shock was total, and it pushed the most radical faction of the Young Turks, a trio known as the 3 Pashas, into a desperate gamble. They needed a powerful ally. They needed a war they could win. When World War I began in 1914, the 3 Pashas made their choice. They joined Germany. It was the worst decision in the empire's history. The war opened every front simultaneously. In the west, British and French forces pushed through the Dardanelles, the narrow strait that was the empire's jugular. The Gallipoli campaign of 1915 came close to splitting the empire in 2. In the east, Russian forces drove deep into Anatolia. In Arabia, the British backed a rebellion led by Sharif Hussein of Mecca, promising Arab leaders an independent kingdom if they rose up against the Ottomans. They did, and a British intelligence officer named T.E. Lawrence helped coordinate the campaign that tore apart the empire's Arab heartland from within. By 1918, when Germany surrendered and the war ended, the Ottoman Empire had lost the war, lost its Arab provinces, and lost any claim to being a great power. The three pashas fled to Germany on a German submarine. They left behind an empire with no army, no treasury, and no plan. And then the victorious allies began to carve it up. The Treaty of Sevres in 1920 was designed to end the Ottoman Empire permanently. It handed Greece large portions of Western Anatolia. It created an Armenian state. It gave France and Britain control of the Arab territories. What was left of the empire was barely larger than the city of Constantinople itself. For most empires, that treaty would have been the end. But one man refused to accept it. His name was Mustafa Kemal. He had been a general during the war, the commander who had held the line at Gallipoli and saved Constantinople from the British assault. After the war, he did something no Ottoman military officer had ever done. He defied the Sultan. He went to Anatolia, rallied what remained of the Ottoman army, and launched a war of independence against the Allied powers and their Greek proxy forces. It took 3 years, but he won. By 1923, the Greek army had been pushed into the sea. The Allied powers, exhausted and unwilling to commit more forces, signed the Treaty of Lausanne, recognizing the new borders of modern Turkey. Mustafa Kemal had saved the land, but he had no intention of saving the empire. In November 1922, he abolished the Sultanate. The last Sultan sailed away on that British warship. And in October 1923, Mustafa Kemal, now called Ataturk, father of the Turks, declared the Republic of Turkey. The Ottoman Empire was officially, permanently over. So why did the Ottoman Empire fall? Not because of one war, not because of one bad sultan, not because Islam failed or the armies grew weak. The Ottoman Empire fell because it could not solve a problem that every great power eventually faces. The world changes, and an empire built for one era cannot survive unchanged into the next. The Ottomans built a system optimized for the 16th century, for cavalry warfare, for Mediterranean trade, for a pre-industrial world. When industry arrived, when nationalism spread, when European powers began moving faster than the Ottomans could respond, the structural weaknesses that had always existed became fatal. They knew it. They tried to fix it. They had brilliant reformers, capable generals, and moments when the future seemed possible. But the system was too large, too entrenched, and too fractured to change fast enough. That is the lesson the Ottoman Empire shares with Rome. And with every fallen empire that came before or after, power does not end with a single defeat. It ends with a long accumulation of problems that were never fully solved. And one morning, a man wraps himself in a cloak and walks away before anyone wakes up. This is the fallen empires. Next episode, the Battle of Stalingrad, the fight that broke Nazi Germany, one building at a time. Subscribe, and we will see you there.